do is we'll go from here, where we are, around through the city up towards Hyde Park, then down through the centre of the city, round into Circular Quay and around through the rocks, backside of the rocks, finish up just down here.
Okay.
Great view out of the harbour.
Yeah. Cool. Nice. Okay, so I'll be back in half an hour.
Sweet, see you soon.
I'm Melissa, by the way.
Ross, nice
to meet you. What up, everyone? So I'm here in Sydney, Australia, chilling at Town Hall Station. I'm just chilling on a bench right now, waiting for my free city tour to start. I just met up with a guy named Ross. He showed me where we're going to be going on the tour. It should be about a couple of hours, which is nice. Just get to go around, get a feel for the city, because I'll be traveling around the city on my own over the next few days. And today is Monday, May 2nd, a couple of weeks, just about 10, maybe 11 days till my birthday, 25th, oh no. I'll be back with the tour. Peace.
In front of what's known as the Queen Victoria Building, or better known to us Sydneysiders as the QVB. Up above you there, big sculpture of Queen Victoria, which will, hey, it makes sense, it's Queen Victoria. Except for the fact she's only been here for about 25 years, whereas the building's been here well over 100. What happened was she used to sit in front of the Irish Houses of Parliament in Dublin, but I guess they didn't want her anymore, so they shipped her out here. They said it was a gift. They employed a radio presenter here in Sydney, John Laws. The thing we really don't understand though is that John Laws does the bar as well. I did he just get a dog to do the bar? I've got no idea, but we'll head over and have a quick listen.
Hello, my name is Ivan. I was once the companion and friend of the great Queen Victoria. Because of the many good deeds I have done for deaf and blind children, I have been given the power of speech. If you cast a coin into the wishing well now, I will say thank you.
Here's my coin.
Thank you.
I'm just in a tunnel, and as you can see, Nine West is Nine West, wherever they go. Yes, and these boots are fucking sick. Yeah. What the fuck? Just this random weird looking building. At Pitt and Martin Place, Pitt Street and Martin Place. That's the fountain where they filmed The Matrix, the scene where Neo gets distracted by the woman in red, and that's also the fountain where in Superman Returns, Lex Luthor's girl gets into that car accident and Superman comes to save her. Yeah, that's where they filmed it. Sick.
The only other thing to note here though is the big shopping centre behind me there. Partly because they reopened it about 6 months ago now after spending 1.2 billion Australian dollars on redeveloping it. No wonder it's so shiny, I guess. No. So we're now here in what's known as Australia Square, which was one of our more important modern architectural developments, but it's also another place where you can get a view out over Sydney. Again, at the top of the tower is sort of an expensive bar and restaurant. Here, drinks are probably sort of 50 cents to $1 more expensive, but they're also a little bit more relaxed on the dress code, and you're kind of a bit closer to the harbour, so you get a bit more of a harbour view. So then, beside us here we can see this guy who's known as Waiting. Literally just sits there reading his newspaper, staring over the building above. I have no idea why he's here or what he's waiting for. All I know is he sits there reading the newspaper from the 26th of January 1988. It's exactly 200 years after the city was founded. Has all sorts of pieces of news from that day and that sort of thing. And it was created by an American artist known as John Seward Johnson Jr. Has our wildlife world in Sydney Aquarium on the point directly below me there, and across the water there you can see the curved roofs and the two wharves of the National Maritime Museum, which I guess I'd recommend to you if you're interested in boats, purely for the fact that all their permanent stuff's free. But yeah.
Okay, so you can actually go to this park at St. James Station and play chess. The guys are gonna freak out. These giant chess pieces. And there's a game going on.
This time though more for sport and recreation. So it's actually in this area we had our first official horse races and stuff like that. 1821. Unfortunately though, it turned down soon after. So they started this one in about 1868. That didn't actually happen to finish just for about 11 years. It took about 130 years to get it all built. If you're interested in cathedrals, otherwise you can see right behind me there that fountain about it is. It's meant to show Australia and France's ties and connections back during World War I.
The turtle. Turtle.
They thought the land was completely uninhabited. In actual fact, it was inhabited by the Cadigal tribe of Australian Native Aboriginals. Then there were violent attacks and outbreaks of disease which largely decimated the Australian Native Aboriginal population. So much so, unfortunately, they only represent about 1.5% of Sydney's population. Anyway, by 1792, free settlers started coming out here, farming started to work, Sydney started to prosper. By the 1840s, well, they stopped sending convicts out to Australia. Guessing at 165,000, that's probably just about enough. And then by 1851 we had the first of a number of gold rushes, which really helped Sydney to prosper, but also helped Melbourne to prosper. And hence sparked off the debate between the two cities as to who is more important, which hasn't finished. So in 1901 the 6 states of Australia came together as a federation under the Queen. And this is when the debate between the two cities was most aggressive. Because it had to be decided who would be the capital of this new country, Australia. So Sydney was like, well, we're here first. We have the most heritage and old buildings. Clearly, we should be the capital. Melbourne was like, no. We're younger, we're more hip and European. We're the biggest at the time. We should be the capital. The two cities were both so stubborn. They fought so aggressively, they had to build a whole new city in between the two of them. Canberra. Back in 1810, a man named Governor Macquarie took control of Sydney. He was incredibly influential. So much so, after he left Sydney, he had thousands of things named after him all over Australia. That said though, the street which you can see beside us there is known as Macquarie Street, but he created that one himself and named it after himself. So he had a bit of an ego as well. Nonetheless, he was a visionary. He really believed he could make Sydney a better place through better town planning and better architecture. So much so he had his own favourite architect, Francis Greenway, who was a convict sent out from England for forgery. Came out here, well, he was actually the only architect we had in the colony at the time. So he went on to do all the important buildings around it, two of which we can see on either side of us here. So out to my right and above us there, we can see what's known as the Hyde Park Barracks, which was built by about 1819 as self-contained accommodation for convicts. So before public nuisance. So I thought, hey, we should create somewhere where we can lock them all away at night. So the Hyde Park Barracks is built. These days you won't really find any convicts in there anymore though. Generally just a museum to the history of the building. Set you back like $10 to check it out if you're interested. Back across the road there you can see what's known as St James's Church, which is actually our oldest surviving church here in Sydney. Again designed by Francis Greenwood, dating back to about 1844. A little bit hard to see because of the tree, but when it was built, it went on to be the tallest building here in Sydney. And it was that for more than 50 years. Apparently it was a landmark for ships in the harbour. You can now see what is Sydney's tallest building, Sydney Tower. It stands about 309 metres tall, popular place for people to get a view out over Sydney. You've got to want to, it's set back like $25 to go up to the observation level. That said, you can go to the bottom level of the top section of the tower, sort of an expensive bar and restaurant. Drinks start at like $8 or $9. Go up there, buy a drink, sit there, sip on it really, really slowly as the whole thing goes around, get a view out over Sydney. So may well be better value than going up to the observation level. If you want to do it, dress up kind of nicely. Basically just make yourself look like you're going to spend lots of money, and I'll let you in. Looking up at the Golden Bucket. The top of the tower is actually a 167,000 litre water tank. It sits up there and works as a counterbalance. The whole thing goes all over. Anyway, from here we'll continue along Macquarie Street towards the side of the Rum Hospital.
The Golden Bucket. Just had to record this because this boat is called Scarborough. What? This is the Scarborough boat. And that's the bridge. This is a Circular Quay station. Oh, and I'm losing the group. And that, my friends, would be the Sydney Opera House.
From here we can see out across the harbour there. You can see over to that white thing that kind of looks like sails and whatever. Well, that's the Sydney Opera House. I'm pretty sure you're already near that. What you might not know though is back in 1956 there were tram sheds out there. There was a Fort Macquarie. There's all this stuff that we didn't really need anymore. So they thought, hey, maybe we should put something a bit more important out there. Why don't we put an opera house? That seemed like a pretty good idea. But then they had to work out who should design it. They had a number of different architects that could do the job, but they weren't sure how to choose between them. So they thought, hey, why don't we let anyone design? They opened up a worldwide design competition, which saw about 233 entries from 30 countries around the world. Really not sure it made their lives any easier in terms of choosing who should design it, but nonetheless they eventually decided upon a young Danish architect known as Jørn Utzon. He'd provided the competition with some sketches, some images, all very imaginative and evocative, but no one was actually 100% sure whether they could be built. But they thought, why not? Let's give him a chance, let's see what he can create. So over the next few years he oversaw some revolutionary techniques in design and engineering and construction to pretty much create the building which you can see out across the water there. But in 1966, something turned the whole project on its head. It impacted on it right up to this day. You'll have to wait a little while first.
The other side of the bridge. Unbelievable. This close. Hi, time to get some dinner and have